Welcome, viewers. In this lecture, I would like to discuss about the topic methods of improving power factor in a given distribution system. So, as we already know, being an electrical engineer, it is a well known fact that the load on a power system is majorly an inductive in nature. So, for an inductive loads, the power factor is always lagging. So, this lagging power factor in a power system can be compensated by using devices called compensators. So, there are three different types of compensators. One is static capacitors, secondly, synchronous condensers, and lastly, phase advancers. In this class, we shall see all of them in detail. So, firstly, I would like to discuss about the static capacitor. From the name itself, the capacitor is a device which is stationary and immovable. So, that is why we have named it as a static capacitor, and it is connected across the load. This type of compensation to improve the power factor is named as static shunt capacitor compensation or static shunt compensation. By incorporating a capacitor across the load, this capacitor injects the reactive component of current into the system, which in turn reduces the out of phase component of current which is consumed by an inductive load. That is, it is going to modify the characteristics of inductive load. That is, by injecting this leading component of current into the system, the lagging component of current tends to neutralize such that it behaves as a normal system. So here the reactive power transmitted over the longer distances over the line gets reduced in a value, thereby the voltage across the load maintained within the specified limits. By the application of shunt capacitor to a line, it majorly improves the power factor, and consequently the voltage drop between sending end and receiving end also reduces. So have a glance at the figure. On to the left, I have shown a single line diagram of a power system network representing sending end voltage, receiving end voltage, and a transmission line having parameters resistance and inductance. So let us assume Vs be the sending end voltage, Vr be the receiving end voltage, Ir be the current flowing through the line, where R is the resistance and XL be the inductive reactance of the line. In order to obtain the phasor diagram, firstly the receiving end voltage vector is taken as reference. As the load is inductive in nature, the current IR lags the voltage vector VR by an angle theta R. Due to flow of current IR through resistance R and through inductance L, there is a drop, resistive drop and inductive drop. IRR drop is a resistive drop which is parallel to IR but from VR, and IRXL is the inductive drop which is exactly 90 degrees from IRR vector. By summing this voltage drop vector to the receiving end vector, you are going to get a sending end voltage vector. So this represents the single line diagram and phasor diagram of a power system network without any compensation, without static shunt capacitive compensation. So here again the inclusion of capacitor is shown onto your left side diagram, the inclusion of capacitor. So this capacitor injects the reactive component of current into the load or into the system. So that is why firstly VR dash is taken as reference vector. There IR is the amount of current flowing through the load initially, but after installation of capacitor it injects reactive component of current IC. So it is always 90 degrees leading with respect to voltage VR dash. Now the total current that is flowing through the parameters resistance and inductance is sum of IR dash and sum of IR and IC. So IR and IC are summed so that the new current is given as IR dash. This IR dash flows through the resistance R and reactance XL. So due to flow of it, the drops are IR dash R and IR dash XL are represented. Now the sum of voltages, receiving end voltage and voltage drops gives us the sending end. But here the angle between voltage and current, previously without any compensation it was pi R, but now it was only pi R dash. The magnitude of pi R dash is small when compared to magnitude of pi R, hence the cos pi R is very high when compared to cos pi R. In this way, I can conclude that the static shunt capacitive compensation improves the power factor of the power system network. The voltage drop without shunt capacitor is given as voltage drop Vd is equals to IRR cos pi plus IR XL sin pi, whereas with the shunt capacitor it is IR R cos pi plus IR minus IC into XL sin pi. That is, the reactive component of current is represented as IC, which is leading by the supply voltage by an angle of 90 degrees. So therefore the voltage rise with and without shunt capacitor compensation is given as IC XL sin pi. Coming on to the advantages, the losses are very low, but it requires less maintenance since there are no rotational parts and easy to install. Coming on to the demerits of static shunt capacitive compensation: less service life, easily damaged due to excess of voltage, its repair is uneconomical, difficult to control switching position of capacitors because of removing or adding the capacitors in the circuit for different power factors. Moving ahead with second method of power factor improvement, that is synchronous condenser. A synchronous condenser is a synchronous motor running without mechanical load. So it takes the leading current and gets overexcited, resulting in injection of leading component of current into the network, such that this synchronous motor is connected across the supply or across the load, so that it produces leading component of current to tend to neutralize the lagging component of current, resulting in improved version of power factor. So here various values of power factor can be achieved by addition of capacitor banks, as in the case of static shunt capacitive compensation. So here also the same can be done, but here a stepless variation can be done. There only step by step we have to do, but here there is a stepless smooth variation can be provided with the help of synchronous condenser when compared with static shunt capacitive compensation. This is the major added advantage for synchronous condenser. So for lower rating, for lower requirement, that is for 3 MVAR, 2 MVAR requirement of reactive power, we can go ahead with the static shunt capacitive compensation. However, for major 10 MVAR and above can be done with the help of synchronous condensers. These are economical for only 10 MVAR and above. For less than 10 MVAR, it is best suitable to employ static shunt capacitive compensation. So in this figure I have represented a 3-phase synchronous motor drawing the power under no load condition. It is connected across the supply. Okay. Let P1 be the active power of the load, cos pi 1 and cos pi 2 be the power factor of the load without and with synchronous condensers, and PS be the active power drawn by the synchronous condenser under supply. So that the reactive power is given as, since P1 and cos pi 1 are the active and power factor, so reactive power of load before installation of synchronous condenser is given as Q1 equal to P1 tan pi 1. After installation of synchronous condenser, the total power drawn is P1 plus PS. So total reactive power of the load is Q2 is equals to P1 plus PS into tan pi 2. But here we have termed P1 plus PS as P. So Q2 is equals to P tan pi 2. So before it is P1 tan pi 1, after it is P tan pi 2. So whatever may be the difference, that difference of reactive power is nothing but Q1 minus Q2, which is termed as Q, and that amount of reactive power is supplied by the synchronous condenser. So in this rated kVA of synchronous condenser is shown as P asynchronous PS, that is apparent power is given as square root of PS square plus QR square. Similarly, power factor of synchronous condenser is given as cos theta is equals to PS by PAS, where PAS is the active power drawn by the synchronous condenser and PAS is the apparent power of synchronous condenser. So here I have shown diagrammatically the phasor diagram of synchronous condenser, where 0 to P1 is a vector which is only active power drawn by the load. At that moment the reactive power is Q1, so that from power angle triangle P1 Q1 and pi1 is the power factor angle. Later, after installation of synchronous condenser into the system, the synchronous condenser also has drawn some amount of power PS. So now the total amount of active power drawn from the source is P1 plus PS, but at that moment the capacitor the synchronous condenser has injected some reactive power QC, so that only Q2 amount of reactive power is drawn from the source, which is Q1 minus QC. So the power factor is now reduced from pi1 to pi2, that is cos pi2 is greater than cos pi1, and hence the power factor of the system is improved by the enabling of synchronous condensers. Coming on to the advantages, it is inherently sinusoidal waveform and the harmonic voltage does not exist. It can supply as well as absorb the kVAR. Power factor can be varied smoothly. It allows the overloading for short periods. High inertia of synchronous condenser reduces the effect of sudden changes in the system load and also improves the stability of system. It reduces the switching surges due to sudden connection or disconnection of lines in the system. Coming on to the demerits of synchronous condenser, power losses are high, uneconomical for smaller ratings, not possible to add or take away the units and to alter the rating of synchronous condenser once the designing is completed. Cost of maintenance is also high, and also it produces noise since it is a synchronous motor running under no load condition. Last method is phase advancer. Here this is nothing but a special commutator machine which is used to improve the power factor of the induction motor. So already we know that induction motor under supply condition it draws lagging current. So in order when it draws lagging current, the power factor is also low lagging power factor. In order to improve the power factor, it is decided to make this compensation, that is for compensating this lagging component of current, a phase advancer is mounted on same shaft such that it supplies MMF to the rotor circuit at slip frequency, and hence this lagging component of current tends to neutralize. Coming on to the advantages of phase advancers are lagging reactive power drawn by the motor is reduced by compensating the stator lagging current at slip frequency. Wherever the use of synchronous motors is not suitable, a phase advancer can be employed. Thank you one and all for watching this video. Do you have any doubts? You can contact me through a chat in the YouTube channel, or else you can post to my mail. For more videos, you can subscribe to my channel, and if you like the video, please give a comment. Thank you.